The arena was vibrating with a frequency that felt less like excitement and more like a pending natural disaster. 30,000 people were staring at the entrance ramp, their collective breath held in their throats, waiting for a sound that would tear the roof off. When the static of Joan Jett's bad reputation finally hit the speakers, the noise didn't just rise. It exploded. It was a physical wall of sound, a mixture of adoration and hostility that only one woman on the planet could provoke. But as Ronda Rousey marched through the curtain, the scowl on her face wasn't the practiced mask of a prize fighter. It was the grimace of someone holding a shattered piece of themselves together with nothing but willpower. Michael Cole was screaming into his headset, his voice cracking with the sheer magnitude of the moment, calling her the baddest woman on the planet, reminding the world of her dominance, her history, her unbreakable aura. But the cameras caught something the commentary team missed in their hysteria. As she slapped hands with a fan in the front row, there was a micro-flinch, a momentary lapse in the armor. She wasn't walking with the loose, dangerous swagger of her rookie year. Her gait was stiff, deliberate, like every step was a negotiation with her own nervous system. The pyrotechnics went off, bathing the stage in red and orange, and for a split second, she closed her eyes. It looked like focus to the millions watching at home, but to anyone who knows the look of true agony, it was a silent scream, looking out at the turnbuckle, looking out at the sea of faces. And the realization hit her harder than any strike she had ever taken in the octagon. They wanted a superhero. They wanted a machine. But beneath the leather jacket and the taped fists, her body was screaming a warning that she was actively choosing to ignore. The bell hadn't even rung yet, and she was already fighting for survival. The match began with a violence that felt uncomfortably real. This wasn't the fluid, choreographed dance of professional wrestling. It was a gritty, ugly scramble for dominance. The commentary team, usually so polished, fell into stunned silence as the sound of bodies colliding echoed through the arena without the usual rhythm. Corey Graves muttered something about the intensity being off the charts, but his tone betrayed genuine concern. He wasn't selling a storyline anymore. He was watching a car crash in slow motion. Then came the spot that changed the air in the room. Ronda went for a throw, a move she had executed thousands of times, pure muscle memory. But as she planted her foot to pivot, her body betrayed her. It wasn't a dramatic stumble or a theatrical collapse. It was subtle, a buckle of the knee, a sharp intake of breath that the ringside microphones picked up with terrifying clarity. The crowd, usually quick to jeer or cheer, went quiet. They sensed the shift. The invincibility was flickering. Her opponent, sensing the blood in the water, didn't hold back. A stiff forearm connected with Ronda's jaw. For the first time in her career, she didn't just absorb it. She looked lost. She was staring at the lights, the roar of the crowd becoming a distant hum. The commentary team was scrambling, trying to cover the confusion. She's dazed. Ronda is human after all. They yelled, trying to spin the reality into entertainment. But looking at her eyes, glazed and wide, you could see the internal panic. This wasn't part of the plan. The pain shooting through her wasn't the kind you walk off. It was the kind that whispers that your career is over, right here, right now, in front of the world. She rolled to the ropes, gasping for air, realizing that the hardest fight of her life wasn't against the woman across the ring. It was against her own failing biology. The bell rang, signaling the end of the chaos, but the real drama was just beginning. As Ronda walked up the ramp, clutching her side, the adrenaline that had been masking the worst of it began to drain away, leaving nothing but raw, exposed nerve. She passed through the gorilla position, the nerve center of WWE, and the atmosphere was suffocating. Usually, this area is a buzz of high fives and producer feedback. Tonight, it was a tomb. Vince McMahon sat at his monitor, headphones around his neck, staring at the screen with an unreadable expression. He didn't say a word as she limped past him. The silence was louder than the 30,000 people she had just left. Producers and road agents parted like the Red Sea. Nobody willing to make eye contact with the woman who looked like she might shatter if someone spoke too loudly. A medic rushed over with an ice pack and a towel, but Ronda waved him off with a look that could cut glass. She didn't want pity. She didn't want medical attention. She wanted to disappear. She collapsed onto a crate in the hallway, burying her face in her hands. The backstage monitors were still showing replays of the match, highlighting the moments where she faltered, dissecting her vulnerability in high definition. You could hear the muffled sound of the next match starting in the arena, the show rolling on without her, indifferent to her suffering. In that lonely corridor, surrounded by road cases and cables, the baddest woman on the planet looked incredibly small. This wasn't the anger of a loser. It was the devastation of a perfectionist who knew she had pushed her luck one time too many. The producers whispered in huddles. Phones were pulled out to text executives, and the energy shifted from show business to damage control. The queen had returned, but the crown was heavier than anyone had anticipated. By the time she reached her locker room, the digital world was already burning. Twitter was a war zone of hot takes and slow motion, GIFs analyzing her every step. The narrative was being written in real time, and it wasn't kind. Ronda looks washed. One viral tweet read, "Why did she even come back?" asked another. The disconnect between the agony she was enduring and the cruelty of the discourse was jarring. To the fans, she was content, a character to be critiqued. To her family, watching from home, she was a mother and a wife who was hurting. Her phone lit up with texts, not from fans, but from the people who actually knew the stakes. Her husband, Travis, asking if she needed him to fly out. Her trainers asking about the swelling. But amidst the concern, the media machine was churning. Dirt sheets were already posting exclusive reports about backstage heat and injury rumors. The speculation was rampant. Was her heart still in it? Was she just doing it for the money? Was she physically broken? The pressure of her legacy began to weigh down on the room. Every headline that popped up felt like an indictment of her decision to return. She had spent a lifetime building a reputation of invulnerability, and in 20 minutes the internet was trying to dismantle it. The contrast was sickening. She was sitting in a locker room smelling of deep heat and sweat, unable to untie her own boots without wincing, while the world debated her worthiness as an entertainer. She scrolled past a video of a fan mocking her facial expression during the injury, and the phone screen went dark. The isolation of fame is never more potent than when you are in pain, and millions of people are watching you bleed, demanding you do it again tomorrow. The arena lights eventually dimmed. The crowds went home, and the crew began breaking down the ring. But the story of that night wasn't about the match result or the star ratings. It was about the lie we tell ourselves about our heroes. We demand they be larger than life, impervious to pain, and eternal in their dominance. When Ronda Rousey walked into that arena, she carried the weight of that lie. She endured a pain that nobody expected because nobody wanted to see it. We wanted the myth, not the human. The twist isn't that she was injured. The twist is that she knew it would happen and walked out there anyway. The pain wasn't an accident. It was the price of admission. She traded pieces of her physical self to maintain an image that the world had become addicted to. As she left the arena that night, hoodie pulled low over her eyes. She wasn't leaving as a conqueror. She was leaving as a survivor of her own ambition. This moment wasn't a failure. It was the most honest thing she had ever done in a wrestling ring. It stripped away the marketing and the pyro and left us with a brutal truth. The baddest woman on the planet isn't the one who never gets hurt. She's the one who feels the bone-deep agony, hears the doubt of millions, and walks through the curtain anyway. The pain nobody expected was the realization that our idols bleed just like us, but they do it while the world cheers for more. And that, perhaps, is the heaviest belt any champion has to carry.